Okay guys, so it is not a secret if you've seen some of my stuff that contemporary romance has lately become like my favorite kind of romance. But there was a time, and I did this huge long tier ranking video about it, when I was reading a lot of historical romance. I'm not reading a lot of that anymore, but there are some authors that I came to love during that time whose next book I will always read because they were so good and every single one of their books was just so amazing that I was like, yes, you are amazing and I love you. And the queen of historical romance to me, again, not that I've read so much, the queen of historical romance to me is Sarah MacLean. And I am here today with an ARC review of her latest novel, Bombshell, the first novel in the Hell's Bells series. And I cannot wait to tell you about this. I'm gonna try to do like a legit review, but I loved this book, and I think anyone who has read Sarah MacLean's other books, I didn't necessarily know this book was coming, but now that it's here, I was so excited for it. So all of Sarah MacLean's series are interconnected. Some of them have some repeat characters, and some of them they just mention like important places, so you know they're all set in kind of the same time period. And my favorite Sarah MacLean novel of all time is the third book in her Scandals and Scoundrels series called The Day of the Duchess. Two of the three books in that series involve sisters. Sophie Talbot is the sister in the first book. The second book is a whole different person. And then the third book is Seraphina Talbot. And that book, my book is so good. I'm not gonna obviously talk about it here, but in The Day of the Duchess, Seraphina has a friend who is American, and his name is Caleb. And she has, at that point, one unmarried sister whose name is Cecily. Cecily is out of the 5 Talbot sisters, who are all scandalous in their own right, the most scandalous. She is curvaceous, she is sexy, and after all of her sisters have gotten married, she super does not really care that she's unmarried. She's just out living her life. So Sarah MacLean went off, and after that series went and wrote an entirely different series, again set in the same world but with a whole new cast of characters who were mentioned very briefly in The Day of the Duchess. And I was like, okay, because it was very, very clear that Cecily and Caleb were having a thing. But when that wasn't the immediate next story that she wrote, I thought, oh, well, maybe we're never gonna get that. Well, Hell's Bells is a series about a group of very, very unique and fantastic women who are taking the power back in their aristocratic London by putting men who abuse women, who abuse their power, who mistreat women, and are just altogether tossers, and taking back power and making them pay for their actions. And of course, Hell's Bell number 1 is Cecily Talbot, and Caleb, he's just trying to keep her from getting killed, and Cecily is ready to tear down the world. So it was at once perfect because I really wanted their story, but having Cecily's story be the first in a new series is perfect because while I love Cecily and I loved her even more after this book, the women that she works with on this mission, who are all new characters, are fantastic, and I cannot wait for every single one of their books. So Bombshell starts out when Cecily is at a ball, and you kind of see the nefarious spy-ish shenanigans that she and her team of women get up to save a woman who has come to them from marriage to a man who is clearly a terrible person. But plans begin to go a little bit awry, and out of nowhere comes Caleb, thinking that he needs to save Cecily from herself, and she's like, get out my way. But It is clear to Cecily's sisters that Cecily is up to something. She has been not talking to them as much. She has been out at all hours doing weird things, and they are all just convinced that she is reckless and up to like bonkers no good. Of course, Cecily is not being reckless. She is enacting very, very smart and capable plans with this group that her sisters are not aware of. But Serafina, who is pregnant again in this one, asks Caleb and says, "Hey dude, will you watch her?" And Caleb's like, "No, because I ran all the way back to America to get rid of Cecily after the events of the Day of the Duchess, because Caleb wants to love her but doesn't think that, you know, he's good enough. He is not aristocratic. He is American, and he is hiding his own secrets that come out in a really big way during this book. Right after I finished it, I actually reread The Day of the Duchess because I was like, was this set up all along? I'm not entirely convinced that it was, but I digress. There is some other masquerading spy secret shenanigans up Caleb's alley, and he really is the pot calling the kettle black in the case of what Cecily is up to. Cecily and Caleb both love each other. That is never in doubt from the first, which is really refreshing because a lot of these are like, you know, someone has to be convinced that love is worthwhile or something. And not saying that like doesn't happen, but between the two of them, there is always an acceptance that they care for each other, but it's the other person not really believing that they are worthwhile being, and I love this phrase, it's from the book, being loved out loud. And I really enjoyed that story. I really enjoyed that it was them having to grow together as opposed to, you know, one of them realizing love is real or whatever. It was really sweet and really cute and really funny. Sarah MacLean's books are always really funny. And I don't want to give too much away, but there was definitely, I think, more than any of her other books, a little bit more of a suspense element, which I know that's a really big thing in romance for some people. It showed up a little bit in the Bare Knuckle Bastard books, but in this, it really does seem like that suspense, spy, action element is going to be a stronger part of these. So I don't think that you can go wrong with any Sarah MacLean book because they are all connected. I do think that reading them in order is really fab. There are some books that aren't as strong as others, but Bombshell is an incredibly strong start to a new series that seems, extra girl power, extra, action, extra suspense, and really, really cute romance with sassy, strong women. So every single time I read a Sarah MacLean book, I really worry that this is going to be the one that disappoints me. This is not it. So I hope that you run and not walk to get Bombshell either from your local library or your local bookstore, because it will just make you happy. It made me happy, that's for sure. So thank you so much for listening to my ARC review, and I hope that you have a very pleasant day. I have been filming this in between the bursts of my incredibly loud air conditioner because it is 1,000,000 degrees. So I hope wherever you are, you're a little bit cooler and reading something that makes you happy, whatever that is. So thanks so much, guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye.